Hey yoginis, Ashley Josephine here. Today I want to give you a few different yoga exercises or poses that you can do to help alleviate any pain that you might be feeling in your feet. So before we go into the poses themselves, I just want to say a couple things about our feet. And the first is that there aren't a whole lot of stretches for our feet. We might go around in our day and stretch out our shoulders or fold forward and stretch out our back, but very seldom do we say, oh, you know, my feet are hurting, let me hop right into this stretch that I know of to help alleviate that pain. The feet are one of those places in the body that are hard to stretch, or we just don't intuitively know what to do to stretch out our feet. And those types of exercises and stretches aren't necessarily widely out there for everybody to pick up and just store in the back of their brain. So hopefully when I give you these couple of different exercises, you can store them in the back of your brain and come back to them over and over again. The other thing about the feet is that we use them a lot. Our feet are really, really important in our body because they're what help us move. When we walk, we are moving. Our feet are what's on the ground. That serves as the foundation of our entire body, one of the most important parts of our body to help us move and be mobile and get from place to place. But we don't take care of our feet too often, and that's really sad because our feet are doing the bulk of the work for us in our daily lives, especially if we have a job where we're on our feet all day long. Another thing about the feet is that so often we really damage our feet because of the shoes that we wear. Women, if we're wearing high heels all the time for work, yes, they're pretty, yes, they might make us feel great, but for the feet, they're not so great. And a bunch of other types of shoes out there too just don't have the right arch support to make our feet feel totally comfortable and be able to fully support us. So that's another great reason for us stretching out the feet. And the last thing that I'll say about the feet is that in Eastern traditions, such as traditional Chinese medicine, the feet are one of the most important places of the body for several different reasons. There's lots of meridians and important energy channels that start or end in the feet. The feet, again, serve as that foundation and connect the entire rest of the body. And even when we look at the muscles, we've got muscles moving from the bottom of our feet underneath our arch that connect through our Achilles that go all the way up our leg. They can start to affect our knees, our hips, our back. Everything is all interconnected in our body. So if we're not taking care of our feet, the foundation of our entire body, it's much more likely that we'll experience pain not just locally in the feet, but perhaps in the knees and the hips and the low back as well. And we want to avoid as much pain as we can and live pain-free if we can. So let's go ahead and get started with the stretches. A lot of these stretches are going to work and focus on the fascia in the bottom of the feet. If you've ever suffered from plantar fasciitis before, it's really excruciating pain in the bottom of your feet. And it's because the fascia, all these tiny little ligaments, are inflamed or are really, really, really super tight. And so we're going to stretch those out, get some new blood, some new oxygen running in the bottom of the feet, stretch things out. And the thing about yoga and other types of modalities where we're doing it over and over again, that repetitiveness is really important. This isn't just a one and done thing. It's not a pill that you can just take and expect for the pain to go away after a couple of minutes. This is something where the stretches now might help you feel a little bit better immediately, but as you do them over and over again, it becomes more of a preventative measure than an actual stretch or exercise to alleviate the pain itself. So it works both ways, but not necessarily long term. We more want to take these stretches as a preventative approach to our daily life and to managing the pain that we may or may not be experiencing. All right, so start with what I like to call toes pose. And this, I'll start with my back to you so that you can see what's happening in my feet here. You'll come onto your knees and then curl your toes under and get your hands underneath there so that you can pull your pinky toe out. A lot of times the pinky likes to go out to the side. Pull your pinky toe out so that your pinky is curled under as well and touches the mat, and do that on both sides. Spread your toes and then rest your hips down on your heels. Now, for some people, this might be really, really intense as it is. I'm going to turn back around here so that you can see me. So my hips are sitting on my heels. Some people, this might be really intense right here. If your fascia are really tight, if you suffer from plantar fasciitis, this might be too much. If so, then you can start to take some of the weight into your hands. Walk your hands forward and lift your hips up off of your heels. That will take some of the pressure and the weight off of your heels. For those of you that it's okay, stay here, maybe close your eyes, relax your shoulders, your hands, and take 5 to 10 deep breaths here. In and out through your nose. You can even exhale through your mouth. And I promise you, as you sit here, if you're one of those lucky few who think that this is really comfortable, then as you continue to breathe, eventually the stretch will become more and more intense. You'll start to feel something, and perhaps you might even get to the point where you need to start bringing your weight forward and come off of your heels. But just notice the tendency here, especially if you do feel a lot of sensation in the bottom of your feet, to crunch up and tense up in other parts of your body. Notice if your shoulders start to move up towards your ears, if you clench your jaw, if you make fists with your hands, because you're trying to force through all that pain or sensation that you might be feeling in the bottom of your feet. See if you can relax everything else in your body and just completely focus on your breath. Direct your breath down into the place where you feel the most sensation. Good. Take 2 more breaths here. And this is one of those poses where you can do in front of the TV when you're watching your nightly TV show. All right, we're going to come out of toes pose. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see me. You're going to come out of the pose and place the tops of your feet on the ground. You'll then sit back on your heels, similar to toes pose, except this time my butt is on my heels and the tops of my feet are on the ground rather than my toes curled under. All right, so sitting on my heels, if this is really difficult for you, you can take a block underneath your hips to sit up a little bit so that, again, all the weight isn't on your heels. You're going to take your hands behind you and start to lean back. Let me come forward here so I stay in the frame. So you'll lean back. You'll bring your hands behind you, all your weight into your hands, and then start to pick up your knees. Now, for some people, this is really, really challenging. All I can say is that the weight is completely in the tops of your feet, and you'll get a really intense stretch along the front side of your foot here. One of those places that's really hard to stretch. So all the way in your hands and the tops of your feet, lift your knees to the point where you start to feel a really nice stretch in the tops of your feet here. If you can, keep your legs together. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. Lift your heart up toward the ceiling so that your shoulders stay wide. And again, most important part of yoga is to breathe in and out. And the more you bring your legs down toward the ground, the less you'll feel the stretch. So you can play with that depending on the intensity level that you're feeling right now. And this is another one that you can do when you're watching TV. If you need to take a quick break at work and you have your own office, take off your shoes, get on the floor, do these stretches. Or just make time, prioritize 5 minutes a day for you to really work on those places in your body that are causing you pain or any discomfort. It doesn't have to be that way as long as we know how to target the stretches that we need to do to alleviate that pain over time, then we can live pain-free. So take 2 more breaths here in this pose. I guess I don't have a name for this one. We'll call this one knees up. And then lower your knees back down to the ground. Transition into a tabletop position. Stack your palms underneath your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips, and then kick out your feet here on the mat on the ground. Wiggle your toes, circle your ankles. Just get some blood moving in your feet again. This is the fun part. All right, and then the last one, you're going to flip your toes underneath you and bring your feet together to touch if you can. So now I'm in a really low squat here. My toes are curled under. My heels are lifted up off the ground. My legs are as close together as I can bring them. If this is really challenging for you, then the legs can be apart. But if you can, the toes as close together to touch. Then you're going to take your hands out in front of you. Again, you might want to widen your knees. If you can, keep your legs together to touch. This will increase the stretch that you feel. And then walk your hands out as far in front of you as you can and press your palms down. And really press away from you as you pull down through your heels. So again, the heels aren't necessarily touching, but I'm really pressing the heels down towards the ground as I press my palms away from me. So it's like I'm reaching my heart forward and at the same time pressing my heels down toward the ground, creating these opposing forces of motion in the body. And that is a huge stretch along your Achilles. You might even feel it all the way up into your calf. Really great stretch for runners. Again, the closer you keep your feet and your legs together, then the more intense you'll feel this stretch. You can relax your head and your neck here. Release your shoulders away from your ears. 5 to 10 breaths here. This is a little bit more active because you're really pressing down through the heels and pulling your palms back towards you as you reach your chest forward to deepen the stretch. Take 2 more breaths. And then lower your knees to the ground and come back to a comfortable seat. So that last one is a little bit more advanced. It requires some mobility in the hips, in the legs, but work up to it. Start where you are, and then slowly over time as you gain more and more flexibility, you'll be able to bring the legs closer together. You'll be able to stay in the poses for longer, and you'll see that progress. It really is about showing up and trying every single day if you can, or at least consistently, so that we're not coming to these poses when we are in real pain and we can't hold them for long periods of time because the pain threshold is just so low. I hope that you found these foot stretches to be helpful. I hope that you found a little bit of relief from any chronic pain that you might be experiencing in the bottom of your feet. And I hope that you'll take some time to take care of your feet. If all of these things are completely way too advanced for you, the last thing I'll offer up is just a foot massage. Sit and massage your feet, the soles of your feet. Take your fingers between your toes, spread your toes wide. And then press this acupressure point right here in between the big toe and the second toe. You'll feel a little space between the bones. That's a nice acupressure point on the bottom of your feet. You can press that to find some comfort and some relief. Massage those tops of your feet. If you want, you can rub some essential oils on the bottom of your feet. Make sure they're diluted. And just give your feet some love. If you have any questions or want to ask a specific question about some type of pain that you're experiencing in your feet or another part of your body, feel free to send me an email or let me know. I'd be happy to put together another video for everyone on releasing chronic pain from other parts of the body. Until next time, my name is Ashley Josephine, and I hope to see you on or off your mat again soon. Namaste.